The quote, "The purpose of human life is to serve and to show compassion and the will to help others," speaks to one of the most enduring spiritual insights across cultures and centuries. Beneath its simplicity lies a radical redefinition of success, fulfillment, and identity. In a world that often measures life by accumulation of wealth, status, recognition, or achievement, this statement redirects attention toward contribution. It suggests that the deepest meaning of our existence is not found in what we acquire, but in what we give, not in how highly we rise above others, but in how deeply we connect with them. From a spiritual perspective, this idea challenges the ego's instinct for self-preservation and self-promotion. The ego seeks validation, control, and superiority. It asks, "What can I gain?" or "How can I protect myself?" But the soul asks a different question. How can I serve? Service in this context does not imply subservience. Rather, it reflects alignment with a greater whole. It recognizes that we are not isolated beings, navigating life alone, but interconnected participants in a shared human experience. These teachings converge on a common truth. Service is not an optional virtue, it is a pathway to awakening. When we serve, we transcend the narrow confines of self-centered living. We step beyond the illusion that our well-being can be secured independently of others. Instead, we discover that helping another uplifts us as well. Compassion. The second key element of the quote is the emotional and spiritual foundation of service. Compassion is more than sympathy. It is not pity or detached concern. It is the capacity to feel with another, to recognize their pain, joy, or struggle as deeply human and fundamentally shared. Compassion dissolves the barriers of us and them. It reminds us that beneath surface differences, we are united by vulnerability, longing, and hope. Spiritually, compassion emerges from awareness. When we are lost in ego, we perceive life through a lens of comparison and competition. We see others as rivals, threats, or instruments for our own advancement. But as awareness deepens, perception shifts. We begin to see others as reflections of ourselves, each carrying unseen burdens, each seeking happiness, each navigating impermanence. This recognition softens judgment. It fosters patience. It encourages forgiveness. And from this softened heart, the will to help naturally arises. The phrase "the will to help" is particularly significant. It implies intentionality. Service is not merely reactive, it is proactive. It requires a conscious decision to respond to suffering with action. Many people feel fleeting compassion but stop short of involvement. They may acknowledge injustice or hardship but remain detached, telling themselves it is not their responsibility. Spiritually, however, responsibility expands as awareness grows. When you recognize your interconnectedness with others, their well-being becomes relevant to your own. The will to help becomes an expression of integrity. It reflects alignment between inner values and outer behavior. Importantly, service does not always manifest in grand gestures. It is not limited to humanitarian missions or public acts of heroism. Often, the most profound forms of service are quiet and unseen, listening without interruption, offering encouragement, extending patience, sharing knowledge, or forgiving a mistake. These acts may appear small, but spiritually they are transformative. They cultivate humility and deepen connection. Service also reshapes identity. In a culture that glorifies individual achievement, defining oneself as a servant may seem counterintuitive, yet spiritually it is liberating. When your sense of purpose is rooted in contribution rather than comparison, you are freed from the endless pursuit of superiority. You no longer need to outshine others to validate your existence. Instead, your value is expressed through your willingness to uplift. This shift reduces anxiety. It softens envy. It diminishes resentment. By focusing on what you can offer, you move from scarcity to abundance. You recognize that kindness, patience, and wisdom are not finite resources. The more you give them, the more they expand within you. Another spiritual dimension of service is its power to transform suffering. Pain, when isolated, can lead to bitterness, but pain shared and alleviated through compassion becomes meaningful. When you help someone navigate hardship, you participate in healing. You become a channel through which hope flows. At the same time, serving others often reveals your own areas of growth. It confronts impatience, challenges prejudice, and exposes hidden pride. In this way, service becomes a mirror. It refines character. It demands authenticity. There is also a paradox in spiritual service. The more you give, the more fulfilled you feel. This is not because you expect reward, but because generosity aligns you with your deeper nature. The soul thrives in expansion, not contraction. Self-centered living constricts the heart. Service opens it. Consider the experience of helping someone without expectation of return. There is a quiet joy in it, a sense of alignment that feels natural and right. That joy is not egoic triumph. It is resonance. It is the harmony between your actions and your inner truth. However, spiritual service does not mean neglecting oneself. True compassion includes self-compassion. You cannot sustainably help others if you are depleted or resentful. Service rooted in obligation rather than love eventually leads to burnout. Thus, spiritual maturity involves balance, caring for your own well-being so that your giving remains authentic and joyful. The quote also invites reflection on purpose. Many people spend years searching for their calling, imagining it as a specific career or achievement. While professional paths can indeed be expressions of purpose, the spiritual perspective broadens the definition. Purpose is not confined to a title, it is expressed through intention. Whether you are teaching, leading, creating, or supporting, your purpose can be fulfilled if your actions are guided by compassion and service. This understanding democratizes meaning. It affirms that every person, regardless of status or wealth, can live a purposeful life. The opportunity to serve exists in every interaction. A conversation can be an act of service. A moment of patience can be an act of service. A decision to forgive can be an act of service. Furthermore, service fosters community. When individuals act with compassion and willingness to help, trust grows. Cooperation replaces competition. Collective resilience strengthens. A society grounded in service becomes more humane. On a spiritual level, serving others also deepens awareness of unity. As you assist someone, you may notice that the distinction between giver and receiver becomes less rigid. You receive gratitude, insight, or growth even as you give. The relationship becomes reciprocal. In this exchange, the illusion of separateness weakens. Ultimately, the purpose described in the quote is not imposed from outside, it is discovered within. As consciousness evolves, the desire to serve emerges naturally. It is not forced by moral obligation, but inspired by empathy. When you orient your life around service and compassion, you cultivate a legacy that transcends material accomplishments. Long after possessions fade, the impact of kindness endures. People may forget what you achieved, but they remember how you made them feel. Thus, the quote becomes a guiding principle. It suggests that fulfillment is not found in isolation but in connection. It teaches that true greatness lies not in dominance but in generosity. It reminds us that compassion is not weakness but strength, the strength to care, to act, to uplift. In embracing service as purpose, you align with a universal spiritual current that flows through all authentic traditions. You participate in the ongoing work of healing and growth that defines humanity at its best. And in that participation, you discover that serving others is not a sacrifice of your life's meaning, it is the expression of it.